What is going on YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be absolutely class. It's probably the most excited I've ever been to do a YouTube video. I have managed to get the Lean Machines, JC and Leon, onto the channel, and we're going to sit down and talk about all things YouTube, CrossFit, some of their crazy Instagram challenges, and yeah, I'm super excited for this. It's going to be mad. So without further ado, I've got my Nocco. Let's dive straight into it.
That sounds like a can of knockout. Yeah, there we go. I said, it's so good, that stuff. It's dangerous, mate.
Lemon anything is my favourite. So when they brought this out, I was like, right, I'm gonna have to order a crate of that.
Leon wants to say. They said to him like about a year ago, if you could develop a flavour or something, what would you be? He's like lemon, and and they just smirked at him. So we kind of had a feeling that might be coming, but yeah. Mega. Computers on 2 seconds, Hitler. All right, mate, calm down.
What a legend.
Leon, mate, we just the Leon Bustin we were just adding was you in a gym trainer top with a top knot.
Oh, mate.
Like a grease bag.
This is why I asked you the other day what my Skype name was, because it isn't clearly Leon Bustin.
No,
it's my
coaching one. 4 different ones.
Look at it. How you doing, Jack? You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, man. Thanks for doing this.
No worries at all. Who's your little friend? I'm intrigued.
Poppy, I've just introduced her to JC.
What a legend. She is gorgeous.
She's class. She's like, everyone thinks she's a designer dog, but she's a mix of all sorts of breeds, I think.
I think they all are nowadays, aren't they? So I think it's just another person to back up my argument that all pets should have hair. I have John's naked animals all the time.
Hey, I agree.
John's naked cat.
I agree. All cats should have hair. Leon, you've left your biking shot. You haven't taken it out for a while.
Oh, fuck's sake! Hang on.
That's his
There it is. It's like the best bike in the world.
You look like is it Jigsaw from Saw?
Yeah. It actually looks a bit big for you though, Leon.
It's Jax's bike. I literally pull around. I attach the dog lead to the handlebars and just pull around the garden. And I'm like, to daddy, and she'll turn left because I'll turn left, and then to right. She's loving it. Absolute lunatic.
That's fast. So for anyone who is living under a rock or doesn't know who you guys are, you are JC and Leon from the Lean Machines. You are YouTube royalty in my eyes.
Wow.
437,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I don't know where 400 of them gone though.
So let's take it way back to the beginning. How did you guys actually meet?
How did we meet? We met when we were 15 or 16 at the skate park. I was like best friends with Leon's cousin, and then we met there. And first time I met Leon, can I swear on here or not? It's best to avoid.
Yeah, swear away.
He told me to fuck off. It's pretty much what happened first time we met, because Leon had a bit of a chip on his shoulder when he was younger. Leon's dad was a professional boxer, quite well known. But he also was a friend of my family, and he had helped build an extension on my parents' house when I was younger. And I said, "Oh, I know your dad. He did the extension on my mum and dad's house." Well, apparently the worst thing to say to Leon was, "Oh, I know your dad." So that's why I got the short "fu" back. And then we became friends ever since.
Yeah, it's weird. So back in the day, we lived in a very small town, and I had a very small physique but a very big ego. And unfortunately, when I was first moved into that town, I just wanted everybody to know me. And unfortunately, as it is, I'm super proud of my dad. But at 15, 16-year-old, I was like, I am Leon. I'm the most important person in the room. And everyone was like, who's your dad? I was like, oh.
Some things don't change, do they, mate?
Oh, there you go, mate. It's simple as that. But yeah, it's been a long while, right?
It's been fun.
Too long.
And how did you actually get into YouTube then? Because JC, I only just found out this morning that your brother is a YouTuber.
Yeah, and my sister. So actually, my sister's a makeup artist, and many years ago, before YouTube was really YouTube even, she was doing like, people were asking her to teach them makeup, and she worked for I think Mac or something at the time. And basically she said, well, I'll just put them on a video format for you to watch. And it turned out being a thing called YouTube. And then they were really some of the I wouldn't say pioneers, well, not in terms of creating YouTube, but certainly some of the first people to put content on it. They got very big, kind of very fast on that. I was a carpenter way back then. Leon was a roof tiler. He'd started personal training. I wanted to do something similar. And I said, look, do you mind if I do personal training as well? He's like, no, I'll help you get your foot in the door. I was like, wicked. I said, well, once we're all qualified and stuff, I've got an idea. My family do this thing called YouTube. It might be a way of us getting more clients. That's how much we knew about YouTube. We thought it was a way for us to get more personal training clients in a gym that we worked at, not really thinking that it's like a worldwide thing. Yeah. And then it's just been since then. It's just kind of been a game of chase your tail with YouTube, because it changes so often. You're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Yeah. And it's only really got to where we've had the kids, where now it's a bit more like, nah, it'll do whatever it does. We'll put out what we like and what we feel good about and just release it. Now, I spent too many years when I was younger refreshing the screen after a video goes up to make sure it got the right amount of views. And it would impact my mood. And I was like, I can't live my life like that anymore. I haven't done that for a long time now, but I'm much more like, used to be every video had to go up every week. Now I'm like, yeah, it'll go up when it goes up. Like, we have other strings to our bow. Yeah. But it's just if I went through all the different stages and thought processes and things that Leon and I tried on YouTube in the last 8 years, it'd be a very long podcast. But we've tried pretty much everything. Some things with more success, some things we've changed probably to our detriment, actually. But we do what we enjoy at the end of the day.
I can definitely relate to the refreshing of you checking likes and views and stuff. But I guess that's just the early stages thing.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, to be honest, like, it still happens. Like, we still care about our content. There's no two ways about it. We still want the content to perform really well. But I just think the pressure that we place on ourselves has gone with time, because you start to understand and realize that there is no rhythm to the content. So like, you can put up 5 pieces of content and 3 of them can perform absolutely phenomenally well, and the other 2 will do absolutely crap. And there's no reason as to why those 2 do better or worse than any of the other ones. But we just got to this point where we were holding ourselves so accountable in the fact that every video had to have at least 20,000 views or whatever to be seen as a good video. But it kind of got us to the point where we lost the message and the reason why we first started, which was, it doesn't matter if this helps 1 person or 1 million people, this content is doing some positive for somebody. And then when we started fascinating about, it has to get to 1,000 likes and it has to get 20,000 views, you start to get a little bit too hungry for it for the wrong reasons. And it happens, because the so-called fame comes in, the internet and YouTube became this big thing where you're getting invited to premieres left, right and center for movies, and you're treated like royalty. And it's very easy to kind of get obsessed with that in some ways, and you hold yourself by the numbers, because every meeting, every interview, every conversation we had for about 5 years was, how many followers have you got? How many subscribers have you got? How many views do you get on each video? And that's how you were sold by your agency or by anything else that you do. And you were purely sold by the number that was up on a screen. So it was very easy for us to get obsessed with that. Whereas now we've got to the point where we're like, we all grow in our life and in ourselves. And we've got a lot more important things in our life to worry about than purely just views and numbers on the screen, because it just didn't add enough happiness to us. Because as John was saying, we were doing more content that was tailored towards views, opposed to content that was tailored towards the reflection of who you are and what you're trying to be about.
I think momentum is really important on a platform like that. Like, if you have a following, which is relatively rare, but let's say 80% of your views come from subscribed viewers, then each one of your videos is going to perform 80% of its maximal capacity, pretty much. If you've got an audience, especially if you've been on there for a longer time, that's built from maybe people that aren't subscribed, so they come in just cold off YouTube because they like the type of the video or stuff like that, you're naturally going to have videos that perform better than others. If you do a video of you topless and what you eat in a day, you're going to get more people coming in on that than you're going to get one on someone who cares about your home life. So it's about horses for courses. And over the last probably year or so, we've not been anywhere near as as consistent with it as we used to be, and I guess that shows a bit. But at the same time, like, we got into a position in our lives where, like, without getting too deep into business and stuff, but we had a lot of other stuff going on, and we were owed a lot of money from different things, and it's like, well, YouTube doesn't pay our bills, our coaching pays our bills, so we can't put ourselves in a position where all our eggs and effort are put into a platform that isn't keeping the roof over our head. Yeah. So that's when we started to go, well, naturally, it has to be given less of our time because we have kids to look after, which means that we should actually spend more time creating content around our coaching and the stuff that we do there. And that's really why the shift came in our stuff. We still do them, like, we enjoy them. Like, well, I'll film videos with Zach, I love it. Film videos with Leon, I love it. But I'm not going to feel like I need to pick up a camera and create 3 vlogs a week now. It's just that's just not where we're at, really.
Yeah, it's like you were saying then, Leon, about kind of, as long as you helping like either 1 or 2 people. It's like my YouTube channel's very small. I've only got like kind of 700 subscribers, but every now and again you get kind of like a message on Instagram or someone comment like, this is the reason why I started CrossFit, and I'm like, what, little old me is the reason you joined?
But it's exactly that. You know, it's a very important thing to hold on to, and also as well, please, as well, you know, I can say this and it can sound patronizing, and I don't mean it in that way in the slightest, but you know, don't look at, I've only got 700 subscribers. You know, that's still a shit ton of people that you can affect and work with and help. And it's something that, like, we'll say, like, we got our first 5,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers purely off the grace of John's family. Because when we first started the channel, back then, it was literally, if somebody mentioned you, somebody shared you, everything exploded overnight. And it was like what the hell's going on?
Now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly. It was like that, you know. And it used to be like there was no such thing as hustling. You know, back then it was like you did a collaboration with somebody, or you put up a content that had the right title and it was a trend, it would explode. It used to be such an easy algorithm to kind of work with, and it's taught a lot of people now, because like I made the joke about our channel. You know, it's got over 400,000 subscribers. Obviously, people drop off and their interest in you changes. You have a family. Some people go, I've not got a family, I'm not going to watch anymore, and they don't unsubscribe or anything. And you see the numbers in relation to our views, it's completely different. And we spent a long while just completely focusing on getting the subscriber numbers as high as we possibly could. But what's actually really important, like we've said it a million times before, we would be much happier if we had 50,000 subscribers but was getting 30,000 views on every single video that went up, because it all comes down to the engagement of the people who are watching your content. So if you've got 700 people who watch your content, but you're getting 500 views on each of your videos, you're probably doing better in the grand scheme of things than what our content is doing in our own side of things.
It's really not uncommon as well. Like, I mean, we've done YouTube for like 8 years, but my brother, my family, and lots of the people that I know from that era, they're all very much in the same boat. Like, name one professional music person or one professional person who's in TV limelight that stays, apart from Ant and Dec, that stays current, like really current, for 8 years. Like, it doesn't, even radio presenters, Chris Moyles, everyone changes. And I guess that's I think at the start with, maybe that was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow a little bit. Whereas now it's just not really the case. You just move on to different things and you do other things. And really the kids were a blessing in that front, because everything pales much well, everything has less power than it should have. So like, if you have a bad day, it's not as bad as it was. If you have a good day, it's better than it was. And that's really, for me, one of the best things about being a dad is that just the way they look at you or walk or come and grab your ankles or whatever it is. It makes a big difference, and it's definitely helped shift the focus and where the priority needs to be in my life. And the priority needs to be looking after my family first and everyone else second.
What were you like when you first started filming? Because I look back on my like kind of first couple of videos. I can't watch them. Like, my missus gets them out all the time just to take the piss out of me, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you can't show me that. I went back to some of your early ones, and there's so many different hairstyles, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, when we first started YouTube, we So you'd see a video. Obviously, you've got the basic things in terms of camera quality and all that kind of jazz, and lighting, or the introduction of having a mic and that kind of thing later down. In terms of like the actual overall production value, that's obviously gone up a lot. But the only other thing that I can kind of say, like when I look back at our old content, is especially when there's two people, like me and John are a bit like, we do get called like Ant and Dec. Like we now know when each other's getting to a point where they're going to finish their sentence, or their voice starts to change, the pitch changes. We kind of know how to bounce it left and right, who's going to come in when. And one of the biggest things when I look back at the content, apart from the fact that it makes me cringe in the fact that we're so young and everything has aged us over the last 10 years. And obviously some of the content that you're talking about is like you were topless for no apparent reason but to be topless for a video. It's probably more like the hardest thing when I look back is more that our timing is a little bit slower, or we might talk over each other a little bit more, where like now, I hate to use the word a little bit more professional, we kind of now know intrinsically kind of what's going to go on. But when I look back at some of the videos, it's almost like it's painful to watch because there might be a really slow edit or a cut to something, or it can be a little bit choppy. But I don't mind the old videos.
I don't really notice that until we do something for an external company or something like that. There was something big we were working on recently, which may or may not be put on hold now, but it's not until you get in front of a camera then and you're like, yeah, I maybe don't get the views that I used to, but you put us in front of a camera and you just feel at home. And people say to you, oh, well, you guys done this before. And you'd be like, oh, shit, yeah, I have done it for 8 years. and then that gives you a little boost in confidence and you get that kind of feeling. And we do like to bounce off each other and have a lot of fun as much as we can.
Well, because that's when I feel most comfortable, because if I'm at home, I'm fine talking on camera, but as soon as I go out and I try and film at events, I'm a nightmare. I just kind of go into a shell. I actually, when I first went to Sid a couple of years ago, you two were there, and my plan was to go and kind of get a few people on the vlog, just say hello, and I just didn't dare get the camera out, like to the point where eventually I did come over and get a photo. But I didn't dare get the camera out. I didn't speak to any athletes at all. So I had all this footage of the event, but I couldn't make like that. Yeah, I couldn't make a video out of it because I was too scared to kind of show to people.
I was like that. To always care too much what people thought, and especially if you're in public and someone would look at you and instantly that would throw you off. And you just kind of you get a bit thicker skin to it. I wouldn't pretend. There's still not times now where I'm like, I don't really fancy getting my camera out here, and I'll pick and choose. But I guess you just get, sometimes you just get, you kind of just get over it. And other times, if I'm being honest, it depends on how important the content is. Like if it's something that's got to be done, it's got to be done because we've got a deadline, or it's got to be done because it's integral to mine and Leon's business. At that point, it starts to become, oh, I'm creating a vlog because I enjoy this and hopefully people like it. There's an objective behind it. So then it becomes a bit more, all right, I'll just do it. And sometimes that's a good thing, actually, because it makes you do things like when we filmed at Sid this time, like we could have, if it was for the vlog, gone and spoken to all the athletes and stuff. But I didn't really want to. I was like, I mean, they can go and watch other people for doing that. We've followed Zach and been very good friends with Zach for a very long time. And I feel like we've followed him to regionals. We've been everywhere with him. And I don't want, just because we're at that stage, to go, do you know what? Well, Zach's here, but so is everyone else. Like, no, the vlog is following Zach like it always has been. And I mean, the games now, it's all kind of up in the air, but we won't be following him on that one, which is a shame. But I mean, yeah, that kind of stuff. And I think it really, you do what feels right to you, and at the end of the day, your channel, what you do, and everything you do is a reflection of you, and your moral compass will guide you through those minefields, and it will, for most people, see you good in the end.
Yeah, because my original for the channel was I wanted to basically just tour the UK, visit loads of different boxes, and get to train with different athletes, like who I would never normally have the chance to do. And I've been to BFG a couple of times now because I get on really well with Bruno.
Yeah, I love Bruno.
So it depends. Like when I'm at BFG, I'm so at ease because they're so used to it. Do you know what I mean? Zach's so used to on camera, so is Bruno now. But then I'll go to a gym where I don't know, like they're not really into like the YouTube stuff. They're just a very kind of smaller independent box, and they're probably a little bit like, why is this geezer come with his camera? And
yeah, well, to be honest, that's normal. You know, the thing is, Like you've got two different types of way that you can approach it. Like, and we've said, and John's alluded to it already, like to our detriment sometimes with the channel specifically, we go by manners, work in the room, and figuring out who's in the room and what's more important. And unfortunately, we normally put the content secondary to introductions, face-to-face conversations, and shaking people's hands, essentially, right? Whereas the way that YouTube works, it's about initial reactions. So if I was to walk into a CrossFit box, like you're saying, so you went to a CrossFit box and it was really awkward and it was a bit cold and the people were a little bit standoffish because you had your camera out, that's golden content. But that, for me personally, that makes me feel uncomfortable. So anytime that we go to visit somewhere new, or we go to a competition or whatever it may well be, whatever the situation is, if I've not met somebody who's going to be there for the first time ever, I'm going to go in, I'm going to introduce myself, have a conversation with them and make sure that they're comfortable with me to film before I get my camera out. Don't get me wrong, you still get great content, but it won't be those initial what the hell's going on kind of reactions that YouTube feeds off. And we know that, we understand it, we've completely put that to bed and we're totally at ease with it because the relationships and the bonds that we have with people on a professional and personal level are a lot more respectful and better for us than essentially just getting a video, you know. So it just depends on how you want to run it, but it doesn't ever go, you know. It's one of those things, if you're somebody who cares about the environment and you weigh up the environment and what people are going to think and how they're responding now, just stick to that because it's a good sign of the character that you are.
What are your plans for and obviously this CrossFit season seems to be completely over before it's even began now, but what's your plans on the rest of the year? Because obviously did you have another retreat?
Had a retreat, had a wedding. I was getting married. We had the retreat. We had
our biggest
things in.
Well, we had our biggest project in. We've been doing this for 8 years. This is the biggest project we've ever been working on. Had started. We've been away for the first section out of 4 sections that we had to do. And then second section, boom, because it was all about traveling and we had to travel quite a lot for it. And now at the moment, we honestly don't know where it's at. But it's one of those things, you know, it'll figure itself out. But yeah, essentially, you know, we're going to go to the games as well for Zach. A lot of it this year is kind of it's just done. It's just we're not really worrying about it too much. Our retreat's now been moved to May next year, so it's like the same week that it was going to be this year. We're originally planning one for May, one for September, but now we've just gone May and just moved it to May because we don't even know where we're going to be at in September for flights and that kind of stuff. CrossFit wise, I don't know, I hate to say it, but I'm at home in the back cave, my home gym, loving some bodybuilding sessions at the moment. I'm doing the CrossFit stuff, like I still do my cleans and some snatching and all that kind of Metcon stuff, but it all hurts. It's always pain cave stuff. So at the moment, I'm like going down, focusing on some heavy back squats, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm a bicep curl."
It's so hard to get back into it. Like, I'm pretty sure that I had coronavirus quite a few weeks back now, and I was ill for quite a few weeks. And then that on top of what Leon was just alluding to, the project we were working on, meant that I hadn't done a CrossFit workout for probably 7-8 weeks. So then I started trying to get back into stuff, started coughing again, so went back and rested. Anyway, when I finally got into training, I did not want to go into pain cave. And I haven't been there since yet. I haven't been there yet. But it
just kind of...
Yeah, it's shocking. Like, you get used to being in a pain cave and you get comfortable with it when you're constantly training. But when you're not, and you first go back to those sessions, you're like, nah, like I should be sprinting this. I don't want to. And I'm not going to.
Yeah.
So as of yet, I've not been there. I don't even know if what Open will be and if I'll do it. That's normally the one thing that I get fit for. I would have got fit for Turf Games after we won it last year and we had a monster team. Yeah. This year we haven't got 2 regionals athletes, so me and Leon might have to put in a bit more of a shift. So I would have got fit for that, but again, that's been postponed. So this year, I'm not too worried about training stuff. I'll just still keep plugging away on my strength and stuff like that. But I'm not going to bury myself.
Again, when we're talking about priorities, you know, right now for us, everything's kind of okay. It's doing its thing. We're surviving, and we're very fortunate that, you know, to have essentially most of our year go, not sure what's going to happen now in like a financial sense, but the rest of the stuff that we've implemented and put in place over the last few years means that we're still able to live, and we've still got a career, and we're still paying our bills and all that kind of stuff. We've still got an all right life right now. But when all this kind of side of things comes to a head and it sorts itself out, you'll notice with me and JC, we have this undulating rhythm that when it comes to work and training, work always comes first. It gets to this point. Sometimes we get a little bit lazy and a little bit like, oh, everything's really amazing right now. Let's focus a little bit more on CrossFit. And you go for like these periods of time where for maybe 3 or 6 months, you might train twice a day, or you might scoot off at lunchtime for a workout, opposed to, working in the afternoon and going last thing or first thing. But I know that as soon as all this sorts out, the focus is going to be business, because whether we're in a okay situation or an amazing situation at the end of this, there's still going to be some form of damage to the business that you have to sort out essentially to move forward. So there'll be a lot of focus.
If we hadn't made those changes that I alluded to earlier, where we put all our eggs in the YouTube basket when it doesn't really pay our wages, we'd have been without a paddle right now. Without a paddle. But over the last 2 years, we went back to our coaching, which we love and we're passionate about, and we explored that and we expanded that. And thank you to our amazing clients who kick ass and who have stuck by us during this bit and stuck by themselves, that we're okay. So fingers crossed that everyone survives this thing and things start to pick up as normal. Like the boxes, like I don't know when they're going to be able to open again, and I hope those guys are okay. That's a worry as well. So yeah, I think it's just a point where everyone's got to do what they've got to do and behave themselves so we get out of this as fast as possible.
Yeah, well, I was speaking to Rich Hill the other day, Tricky Rick. He seems to think it's not going to be until like September time boxes are going to open.
No, I don't think so either. I think if we're lucky, because if they're gonna do it in a hierarchical thing of how many people can be in a room together, and because social distancing, I think they'll let people out, but they'll keep social distancing. How do you social distance in a box? How do you? That's why the worry with flights. Like I think the games have alluded, like Dave Castro did a live and they took it down. But I think they've alluded to the fact that it's going to be in Aromas, and who can get there, and who can't.
It's
but if you
America, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you can't social distance on a plane, can you? You're 2 foot away, not 2 meters.
Yeah.
And the air's recycled. So, I mean, I think I think unfortunately social distancing will have to stay in place, and I think that's going to impact a lot of businesses and stuff. Still, I think we'll see things that people don't congregate together massively will come back first. So, and banks and stuff like that. And then I think we'll then start seeing fitness and lastly nightclubs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think personally, like one positive is that I think I'm not 100% sure here, but I think that CrossFit boxes will come back before general gyms, because again, like I've seen my wife's sister lives over in Switzerland, and they're like a few weeks ahead of us. So they're now back into that phasing in position where certain businesses are now open, and it's coming down to exactly as JC was saying, it's a numbers game. Yeah. So on the face of it, when she was telling me that hairdressers were open and nail salons and coffee shops and stuff like that were open, I was going, but that's really close contact. But they're playing it in terms of total numbers, because a hairdresser with their client is one-on-one, whereas a nightclub is 150, 200 people in that room. So when you look at it, if we were to follow something similar to that, a CrossFit box, because it's run by 1 or 2 people, they can turn around and say, this is the space that we've got. We can allow for 6 people to come in, and they've got the space that they need. So that might be a little bit more pissing around in some ways for some of them, and a little bit more planning, and maybe offering different classes at different times and a few extra ones on the schedule. But I think they've still got that capacity and that control over it, where they can go, it's X amount of people per square meter, blah, 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 to work.
I think the hardest thing there will be educating the government on the difference between a CrossFit box and a normal gym.
Yeah.
And whether you can get them to listen over the noise of everyone else screaming at them about their businesses.
Exactly.
But what we have to just pray is the person who's involved does CrossFit.
But yeah, we'll see.
CrossFit's opening before my child's nursery. That's right.
That's right. Parents have got to be fit to make sure they can carry their children.
Moving on then to this kind of lockdown period, you must be really enjoying getting to spend some quality time at home with the little ones and your partners.
Isolation's been brilliant. But for being ill, I've had the best time, and I've openly said that in the YouTube video. And I was like, I appreciate it's not this case for most people, and I feel sorry for people that are by themselves. But I'm in the honeymoon period of my life. My daughter's learnt to walk during isolation. So I've just been able to see this every day, faced on. I'm like, I've had the best time, and she's had a great time. And now she's more comfortable with me than she's ever been. Like, if she falls over and has a tear now, she'll actually come to me. It's not only mum that can solve the problem. Like, I've had a bloody brilliant time. I have.
Yeah, I found it all right. Like, to be honest, it's kind of nice to be, in the nicest way, put in a position where you're totally disarmed and you can't do anything about it. You know, unfortunately, sometimes the biggest killer when you're running a business and you're doing your training or in life as a whole can be that comfort. When things are just in your control all of the time, yeah, sometimes that can stop that hunger and it can stop that perspective moments. You know, it's horrible that, unfortunately, as a species, you know, we only really have great moments of perspective when our back's against the wall or something really horrible happens. And with this situation, it might just be because we've spent a lot of years working on ourselves. We're quite good at figuring out what's going on in our head and, you know, dealing with situations. But I must admit, when this whole corona situation first came out, my wife reacted to it faster than what I did in terms of like a global scale understanding the statistics and how it was going to affect us. I basically just carried on. If I'm completely honest, I just carried on as normal. Yeah, I'm a typical bloke about it. I carried on and was just like, it'll affect me when it affects me, if it affects me. You know, the whole typical thing, because I was like, well, it hasn't hit me yet, so I won't worry about it. But then when it did, and it directly affected me, and then it's affected certain elements of our business and freedom and that kind of stuff, it's been incredible to actually sit down and go, okay, how long does this last? What happens? What's good? What's bad? Best case, worst case scenario. Obviously, it's amazing spending time with the family and everything like that, and I've loved that. But as a person, it's been really nice to be put in that position where you suddenly have no choice but to look at everything.
You never work harder than when you have to.
Yeah, and you just sit. I've had a few days which have been absolutely crap, where my motivation's been terrible. I've not really wanted to do much. Haven't really had the energy to pick up a camera or even pick up my phone to do stuff. That just happens regardless of the situation, just because it's about being creative. But to be honest, I've spent, you know, even, and it's annoying because there's been a couple of little issues with it, but built a whole shop and embedded it on our website, which we used to pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds for somebody to do. And I've now learned a new skill that I'll never have to pay someone else to do. Like things like that, where I'm like, I feel really proud to have been part of that.
Totally.
We've written this training plan with 75 workouts over the last week, which I'm like, that's probably like a 6-month project, as stupid as it sounds, when we've got all this other stuff on, because you don't put the focus time in. So in a lot of ways, I've been quite thankful for it on a practical sense, as well as like the personal level. So yeah, it's been all right. I'm ready to get back to normal, don't get me wrong. I'd love to just go to a coffee shop and sit there and eat a ginger nut biscuit and a latte. But in a lot of ways, it's been very productive time as well.
I never thought I'd miss the comforts of my office.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've like you're saying then, I'm one of them people. DIY is not normally my strong point. I stay away from it. Get my dad round to do it or whatever. But I've spent some time, gone and brought a drill and some bits and bobs, done a bit of stuff in the garden, sorted some stuff out in the house, and this is like stuff. I know it's trivial stuff to most people, but this is stuff I wouldn't normally do, and it's just like, actually now it's like, if something needs fixing or a door needs changing, I could probably do that myself now. So it's
exactly that, yeah. And I learned to shuffle as well in lockdown. I'm buzzing. Learn to dance now. It's all good.
Oh, moving on to the challenges, actually. They've been absolutely amazing. And my favourite one I was saying to JC earlier was the that's it.
It's so painfully uncomfortable, wasn't it?
Whose idea was it to start these challenges?
Well, it kind of blossomed out of nothing. Like I think Leon did a TikTok dance, and he just said, "Oh, I think JC's up next." And what do you think, Rose, my partner? And she's like, "Yeah, he's got to do it." And then it just started going backwards and forwards after that, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was. It just started. I hate to use the word organically. Ugh, makes me feel so stupid. But yeah, it was literally just did this TikTok, and I was like, I've got to just play on the fact, because JC would say it himself, he doesn't have much rhythm in that area. So I was like, this would be hilarious just to see him try it. And then as soon as he did it, it just got such a great reaction. And I must admit, at this point, I was in a position where I was like, I don't really know how our content's going to work. over our social platforms because we weren't going to see each other. We knew it was going to be at least 3 weeks and stuff at that point. And I was like, well, we need to have something that still keeps, because for us, it sounds really deep, but being a partnership, it's like Ant and Dec. It feels weird when you don't see them together in some aspects. So if you're not at least communicating in some ways across your content, it can start to be disjointed very quickly. So it's like, this is actually, as much as it's fun and it keeps people having a laugh, and it stops us just doing a pointless workout on a live every morning, which seems to be what the whole fitness world turned into, which is fine. Everyone's got their place. We're like, we want to do something that focuses on people just having a laugh, and it just so happens that it means having a laugh at us, and it then keeps that connection between our relationship with what we do as well. So it just picked up from there, and now we are so far in the hole that it's like
it just got worse and worse.
I just don't know what's going to happen.
I really like single ladies, and I don't know which one I like more out of Jump and Queen.
Yeah, I think Jump was my favourite one you did. For me at the moment,
what was the one in red you had on, Leon?
Big Toe. Yeah, that was the first one that John got me with.
I loved that. That was brilliant.
That was horrific, just because I did it in my garden and there was people, my neighbours had seen it, and it just wasn't fun.
Mate, I tell you what I saw in that. I only watched it back the other day. Talking about seeing it, there is nothing left the imagination in that leotard. I can see the outline.
Yeah, you can full see the lid. Yeah.
He was winking at me.
Yeah, I know, it's bad. But I personally, there was 2 that I actually really enjoyed personally doing. And they're so far from each other, it's ridiculous. One, because I love doing flash dance personally, because it was the filming element and I really enjoyed editing it. Because the actual filming element was really awkward and loads of just jumping around being an idiot. But I really enjoyed watching it come to life on the screen. That was a really fun process. And then just because John, actually, I'm going to let you into an exclusive here. The other one I really liked was the Channing Tatum pony dance, because originally this, not that exact dance, but basically we were at a house party on a New Year's Eve together a few years ago, and I got really drunk and basically put my wife on the floor and performed elements of that dance on her messing about, fully clothed, obviously, in front of all the people at this party. And it was painfully uncomfortable for everybody to watch. And it was a really awkward situation, but I just laughed it off, thinking of it. And John said to me, made this joke about doing pony a few weeks ago. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be so uncomfortable. No. And then in the end, I just said to him, I was like, no, if you want me to do pony, I'll do pony. And then he came up with it as one of the challenges. And I actually, in terms of like the choreography and learning to do some of the dances, that was one I really, really enjoyed doing, just because I like dancing, I like messing about, and it was
people were well impressed.
Yeah, I think annoyingly, that's where people started to turn on me though. People got annoyed because they said it wasn't a challenge. And there's people who've been messaging me and DM me saying, have you done dance lessons and you're enjoying this way too much, it has to be uncomfortable.
My favourite one was when Leon went, 99% of the time I dance when I'm drunk with my friends. So I just did an Instagram story, recorded his TikTok. I was like, what was that? And his TikTok, every single video is dancing. I was like, come at me.
But yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Right, and are you binge watching anything on Netflix during lockdown?
Not watching Ozark at the moment.
Yes, I've got to say to you, John, I have only watched 2 seasons. I've just finished season 3. Because you said there was another season. I was like, no, I've watched them all. It had literally just come out when you told me, and I checked. Oh yeah, I've just finished Ozark season 3.
I started a show with my missus, and she's been furloughed. So then we watched a couple of episodes, and then I'll do some work in the day, come downstairs, and she's like on season 2 already. I'm like, well,
I get my balls cut off for doing that.
Yeah. No,
yeah, it's all right for them to do, but if we do it,
oh mate, let's not go down that hole.
The best thing on Netflix ever, in my eyes, is Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy. We actually talked the other day. We're thinking about starting that again from the start, just because of how good it is. And I've never done that with any program, not documentary. We've just watched. We watched it in 2 nights. The 2nd season of Afterlife.
Oh, it's brilliant.
That just hits so many different levels.
Yeah. Sex Education's incredible.
Sex Education. Don't know. I've actually started watching a couple of different movies on Netflix recently as well, trying that out. I watched Dangerous Lies last night. That was a bit of a weird movie, but it was all right.
I watched the new Hemsworth one as well, that Extraction.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
watch.
We're doing with something with them at the moment. The with them and Netflix, they asked us to create a workout that Chris Hemsworth had done to get in shape for it. So we looked at kind of a lot of stuff he's done, and then his trainer Luke challenged us to do a workout for it. So that'll go up on YouTube, I think tomorrow, Tuesday. Yeah.
Because that movie's got the longest one take scene in a movie. So you know when he's running away with the boy and he gets in that block of, it's like a block of flats, this area in town, and he's beating everyone up and moving around and everything. That's a 12-minute one take sequence where he's just reactive and working throughout the whole time. And they just
followed him.
Yeah, and they just kept it in because it worked so well. So we created a 12-minute workout around that intensity, and I was like, what a boss.
Mate, that workout messed me up.
Yeah, I know. I was watching it because he filmed it. So John filmed it, and then I had to go and do the workout afterwards. And he was like, "That was so hard." And I was like, "Great!"
You've tested it already, have you?
What's that?
You've tested it already, have you?
Yeah, we've done it. Filmed it.
Done the workout, filmed it all, and done it all. It's all ready to go. And
Chris himself has seen it, hasn't he?
Yeah, and all I remember is literally because John has a mic on, the same as what I do when we're doing workout stuff, and all I can hear after 2 minutes is
so out of breath.
It was awful, but it's good fun.
That's awesome. And right, to end it, we're gonna have a little game of Mr. and Mr. instead of Mrs. So your left hand can be JC and your right hand can be Leon.
All right.
So we're going to start nice and simple. Who's most likely to lose their head in a workout?
Oh, it's probably me.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got me, left hand.
Left hands. Oh, sorry. That's probably. It depends on the workout. It depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've both lost our heads in workouts, haven't we?
Oh yeah. But the time that I really lost it in, what was it, 19.5, I realised that I'm a newborn baby and I was trying to hammer myself through the open and wonder why I felt crap and what I didn't have.
I can't remember which one it was in the last open. You know the ground to overhead and burpees.
Yeah.
1.1.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah. So I did that the first time. I didn't do great. Didn't finish it. Went to do it the second time. I had all my pacing sorting out. Halfway through it, for some reason, I was like 20, 30 seconds behind my pacing. Just lost my head, kicked the barbell, right, no, I'm stopping. Mrs. was like, no, carry on. Got to the end, I was like 2 burpees short of finishing. I've not lost my head. So from now on, if I feel like losing my head, I'm like, no, 20.1, no.
First time I did that, we were in our retreat in Tenerife, and I was going at it, and I felt really good, and Zach was like, John, slow down, you're going faster than Scott Banchik did it in. He's like, you're going to burn out. I was like, oh, okay. So I slowed down, finished it, wasn't very happy with time, did it again, was like, with Leon, super methodical, had it paced out, got nowhere near my time. So I wish I just carried on sending it like I did when I was away, but it is what it is.
Okay, number 2. Who is the funniest?
There's a difference between funny and stupid, though.
Number 3, who is the smartest? You're agreeing. Who is the best dressed?
Not by. I say JC, but it's not by his own admission. He's got a very well stylish brother.
It's rare that I actually dress out of anything other than training gear.
Yeah, I feel who is the vainest? Disagreeing again.
Yeah, I am vain.
And the last one, if there is going to be an open, who's going to win the next open?
It's really annoying. It's like me and JC, like every year with the open, he always absolutely dicks me on 2 workouts and then I'll beat him on 3 workouts. It's always exactly the same, and it always comes down to what it will come down to with us is same as they say with the open. It's always when it's like a high skill movement and you have to keep your head with it, John will always beat you with it. It's a move. If I go into a workout where I think the movements are they work to my advantage, I'll absolutely nail it. I'm going to go great. I get it strategized completely wrong. And I'm like, okay, I should definitely do really well in this workout. And then I get absolutely dicked. Not by
double under thruster one you were so good at, weren't you?
Double under thruster toaster bar this year. Yeah, that was just the thing is like with a lot of my training last year, I was working with Mike Catras for a while on my strength. admittedly, my engine fell through the floor, but one thing he taught me massively was to trust the pace a little bit more. So like where you were saying you're a little bit off your pace, so then you absolutely lost your head. That's exactly what I would be like. Because sometimes, same as like when I go for a run, I'm trying to beat my 5K time. But one of the biggest ways for me to beat my 5K time is to start slower and trusting that that pace will hold and you'll still come in ahead of where you want to be at the end is a real hard mental.
That was a massive pacing workout. That was the most I've ever had to work on a pace for a workout, that one. And really, like, not go off too hot and hold that pace. Because I tried to do it in an EMOM, if I remember rightly. Yeah. And you did it faster than an EMOM. Is that right?
I did. I was in 20 minutes. I was in round 22 or 23. I think I was in my 23rd round.
And I feel like I didn't finish it as an EMOM. I felt like I was
19 something. I think.
Yeah, I loved the last one, the ring muscle up one. I loved.
That was a great workout.
That one actually, yeah.
But
fun open actually. It's probably the most fun open workout wise I've done for a while.
I hated doing the open this year because of the competition with Scott. It just stressed me out. It was too stressful. Like I was really happy because I think it kind of contributed to it being my highest finish in the Open that I've had in the UK, the competition with him. But at the same time, I didn't really want to stress too much about the Open this year because it was, we just had little ones and everything like that. And my fitness wasn't in the best place it could be because I'd only really just moved on to the JST program and done some fitness. And I just wanted to see where I was at, but I was constantly focused on where Scott was in the table and what was going on. And it just became.
You beat him in 3 of the workouts, didn't you?
Yeah, 3 out of the 5 workouts, but the one where, the
clean and jerk.
He clean and jerked like 120. Like, so my clean's 135, but my clean and jerk is only 120. So in order for me to clean and jerk that at the end of that workout, it would have been a PB. And I got to it, but there was about 500 or 600 people in the UK who got to the 120 full bar and just looked at it. So it all came down to split time. So I was like in the middle of the pack somewhere. So irrespective of where I came in that, he was at least 300 or 400 places above because he got the reps. And I was like, that workout was what killed me. Ridiculous. But it was good fun. This is good fun.
I loved it.
I appreciate you guys coming on and spending so much time just chatting away. Really enjoyed it.
Pleasure, mate. Anytime. Once boxes are open, you'll have to come back down and have a train.
That'd be awesome. Appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, mate.
Thanks for talking, guys.
Doodles, buddy. See ya.
See you later.
Bye-bye.